UPS and the Teamsters have reached that tentative agreement, hopefully avoiding a strike that was planned for next Tuesday. Of course, the final sticking point of the part-time employee wages settled on Tuesday, paving the way to the agreement. That and air conditioning in the trucks. Yeah. This one had a happy ending, no strike, but labor experts are predicting strike activity will still continue to grow in coming years. We want to talk more about strike activity and the idea of it's growing nationally and how Colorado fits in with Chris Rourke. She's the managing editor of the Denver Business Journal, joining us now. So this strike, obviously, UPS would have had a widespread effect nationally and throughout Colorado.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone would have felt it. In fact, estimates put it at a $7 billion impact to our economy. UPS handles 24 million packages a day, and everybody uses UPS, right? You know, everything from Amazon to prescription drugs. It would have affected more than 3,700 workers in Colorado.
Ooh. That would have been awful for so many reasons. You can actually, you say, predict strikes sometimes when they're coming. How do these things fall in Colorado? I'm trying to remember the big strikes here.
Yeah, you know, of course, we've seen King Super strikes.
Yeah.
Starbucks has been, you know, organizing. I looked at a report from the Economic Policy Institute, and it says that strike activity is going up. In fact, from 2021 to 2022, it went up 52%.
That's nationally.
That's nationally. Now, here in Colorado, it's interesting because our union activity is actually decreasing. In fact, in 2018, about 11% of those employed were unionized. Now it's down to 6.7%.
So what's the landscape in Colorado specifically as far as the idea of unionization that seems to be on a rebound a bit? It was a century ago when unionization really changed the landscape of how America was built. Then it seemed to fall off like maybe in the last 30 years or so.
Well, of course, remember in the 1970s, there was quite a bit of strike activity. Ronald Reagan came in and he fired air traffic controllers, if you recall that. Yeah, and he did not allow them to be rehired. That had an absolute chilling effect on labor activity. Now, since the pandemic, of course, how many times have I been here and said there's been a shift in the labor market, in attitudes? People don't view their jobs as cradle to grave anymore, and they're willing to picket. In the state of Colorado, we have 178,000 union workers.
Is that less, more than?
It's actually less. Like I said, it's come down from 2018.
So
I spoke to a union representative. He said it's more difficult here in Colorado to unionize than other states. In other states, you might have to have 50% plus one to form a union. Here, it's 75% plus one.
interesting.
And so much of it has to do with how people view it. You know, you have the internal struggle, but when teachers walk out, or you see like when your supermarket workers walk out, and it impacts people at home, now you also have a PR problem, not to mention the economic impact.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about strike activity, not only the PR problem, we have an incredibly tight labor market. What Reagan did was, you know, there were replacement workers to be able to come in. We don't have that anymore. So workers feel more empowered to walk out and picket.
Yeah. Well, we know there are some others mumbling on the horizon, but we won't go there until anything happens, okay?
We'll see what happens. United, I think, has reached an agreement, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, that'll be good.
It's always good to see you. Thanks, Chris.